Ladies and gentle dudes, Papa here. First off, let me start by saying Merry Christmas, or Happy Holidays, or Happy Insert Winter Holiday here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being with me this past year. It's been a crazy year. A lot of things have happened. A lot of weirdness has occurred, but we are almost done. If you joined me this year, thank you. Thank you so much for adding me to your list of people that you watch. I really do appreciate it. Right now, we're at 351, I think, subscribers, which is incredible because my initial goal for this year was 250. So we've beaten it, and thank you. Thank you so much. Normally, I'd be putting out a whip video showing off everything that the people in the Discord have been posting, but since it's Christmas and people are kind of busy, and I want to make this a little bit different, a little bit lighter, and maybe something that kind of explains a little bit about who I am and why I love the Space Wolves. There are two main reasons I love them, and then there's kind of a point of resonance between some values that I have and what I feel they emulate. So let me kind of get into it. First off is their lore. One of the defining things about the Space Wolves is their home planet, Fenris. This planet is a death world, meaning that essentially mankind, if left alone, would die either by the climate or by the terrible, terrible animals and beasts on this planet. Had it not been for their ability to come together and somehow stake land and defend it, they would have been wiped out. Fenris is this frozen wasteland where everything is just huge chunks of ice and snow, and it's very, very frigid. And I like that because I think that lends itself really well to a lot of the art and a lot of the miniature models. I love snow and ice and those kind of things. And so having really, really cool Space Wolf bases looks nice. And so I much prefer the icy, frozen death world over like Mars or Ball or something like that. Another thing I love about the Space Wolves is their Primarch, Leman Russ. This guy is insane. He is a monster. I love how smart and cunning and how like comically ruthless he is. He enjoys the hunt, he enjoys the kill, he enjoys testing himself. Definitely not like Angron or something like that where he lives for the kill, but he definitely enjoys testing himself. Now, he's one of the few Primarchs that when he met the Emperor didn't immediately fall on his knees. In fact, he was so prideful that he challenged the Emperor to 3 contests. One was eating, one was drinking, and then eventually as a fist fight. That is such an amazing representation of a wolf mentality. You know, I'm the alpha. If you're going to come in and you're going to tell me that you deserve this spot, you better take it from me. And when the Emperor did, Leman Russ knew that was it. From that moment on, he had undying, unwavering loyalty for the Emperor. And his sons had that same loyalty for him. Their level of devotion to the Primarch and to the Emperor is solid. It's not zealot like the word bearers or anything like that. They're not crazy, they're not fanatical, they don't think he's God. There is no doubt in their mind who they serve. And they would rather end someone, even if it's a brother or if it's, another chapter, they would rather end them than have anything come in between them and the Emperor's will. Something else that's really cool about the Space Wolves is how they view combat. Every time they go into combat, they see it as an opportunity to extend their saga. And it's kind of funny this way because if you read the books in other chapters, he lost 4 battle brothers or 3 blood angels were gone or some random arbitrary number of a random unit was dead. Especially Ultramarines. Oh my goodness. These guys are dying left and right. But when it talks about the Space Wolves, generally it's, and this Space Wolf, here is his name and here is how he went out. And there aren't many of them, but you know who they are and you know why they're there and you know what they've done. And generally they've gone out taken some serious beating, but dealing a lot to the enemy. And I think it's cool how they write that in to almost every single story that talks about the Space Wolves. They love combat. They love the opportunity it gives them to train and to grow and to best their enemies. They're so honor bound in combat and just what it means for your status as a warrior. Something else pretty intriguing about the Space Wolves is their constant battle with the Canis Helix, the thing that gives them their power, the thing that gives them their strength, their ability to smell stuff way beyond and see things in dark without having their helmets. All these attributes that come from the Canis Helix, yet it's almost always trying to push them too far. So they have to not only master their enemy and understand how to beat them, they are always fighting to keep control of themselves, especially from their internal, the Wolfen, so having that as a secondary struggle just shows how resilient and how dedicated and focused these guys are. And some of them choose to give in, and some of them become the Wolfen. That's a representation of them choosing power or one last act of bravery, because generally once you become a Wolfen, you're dying. You're going to get slain. It's very rare that you've survived the skirmish, but for the longest time, once you've become a Wolfen and you've escaped, then your battle brothers, who used to be your brothers, will hunt you down. So it's just a weird but awesome trait that the Space Wolves have to deal with, kind of like the Blood Angels and the Red Thirst or the Black Rage. It's just something that they have to struggle with, and they have to choose to maintain discipline and control over absolute power. One of the defining things about Space Wolves combat is they love getting up close and personal, hand-to-hand combat in your face. It often describes them having lightning fast reflexes and using axes and knives and all kinds of different just brutal weaponry that requires you to be up close and personal. And that is so cool how they excel at being in your face, always pushing the offensive, always pushing the attack. The final bit of lore that I absolutely love about the Space Wolves is their customization. They're covered in tattoos, crazy hairdos, and runes and pelts and totems and all kinds of things that mark each one out as their own person. That kind of ties in with their whole individual saga. But that's why I love the models, because even your standard basic gray hunter has tons of different iconography, tons of different trinkets hanging off of him, and then you have your tabards and your pelts, and then I got into green stuff, and oh man, all these Primaris models, they got green stuff pelts all over them. It really helps sell the feeling that each one has their own story. It's not just a copy paste. It's not just, even if they have the same pose, you change the weird hairstyle, or you add a shoulder pelt or a loincloth or whatever, and now they're their own guy. It's the same reason I never ever put helmets on my Space Wolves, because I want each one to feel like they're unique. If I grab any character, I can look at them and I can see their face, I could see their emotion, I could see what makes them unique. This is honestly what separates them from a lot of other chapters, because I never get the feeling that any Space Wolf is cannon fodder. Each one, when they die, their saga has ended. And you feel that, especially as a Space Wolves lover like myself, you feel when one dies, you know their name. You know what they were known for. You know why they were a veteran and what it means for them to have died. And it's like, it hurts when when their thread is cut, when they're walking in the red snow, right? That's what sets them apart. Another main reason why the Space Wolves are my absolute favorite faction is their role. They're known as the Emperor's Executioners. It is their sole purpose for being to chase down heretics and traitors and bring them to justice. They were called the Executioners because they were the only chapter that was willing to do what needed to be done, no matter who was before them. The first time I read about these special packs sent to babysit the Primarchs was in Unremembered Empire and then Vulcan Lives. Each one discusses these packs of wolves that are sent to go and make sure a Primarch is compliant. And they show up completely open about why they're there. You know, they discuss like, hey, we're here to protect you. We're here to make sure you're okay. But also, if we notice anything weird going on, we're going to end your life. And there's always some threat of a Primarch. Oh, do you think 6 are going to take it? And they say, well, we will do whatever we can to try. And just this swagger, this confidence. It's so cool. It's tough not to admire the wolves because of how comfortable and confident they are that, you know what, even though there's only 6 of us, sure, we'll take on a Primarch. Something else about their role that's pretty unique is that they're really calculating when it comes to deciding what needs to be done with an enemy, deciding how to take care of it and just deal with the problem. But they're also very considerate and kind of have a heart for the people. So in Lucas the Trickster, it discusses the Jackal Wolf, Lucas, how he is this free spirit, he's rambunctious, he plays all kinds of pranks, he does all kinds of just mean things, just goofing off, showing off how awesome he is, but then he also spends his time essentially babysitting this village because they said that it might be a child of his before he became a space, or I don't know. There's also other times, like when Bolvi, I can't remember the book of it, when Bolvi is sent to bring people to compliance and then they don't, so he sides with the people that are there because the Eldar are coming to gather them, and he trains these people to fight. He trains these people to fight against the Eldar. He helps them overthrow the Eldar. The Eldar leave, and the entire time he should have just left. According to what they were told, he should have just left because they had already proven they didn't want compliance. And it was because they didn't want compliance that the Eldar came. And then even after he helped overthrow the Eldar, he was then put in a quandary of, well, now that they've just fought for their freedom, why would these people choose to follow the Imperium? So he switched from that caring, concerned for the people to, well, now this has to happen. And that's why they're the executioners. You know, they're able to see what that people need, and they put mortals first. They always put mortals first. They know that they're the priority. Other chapters don't always have that. Other chapters kind of struggle with putting people first. Now the Salamanders are one of the ones that always will sacrifice everyone in their squad for a human being. But the Space Wolves really understand why they exist and what they have to do to protect the people. Another aspect about the role that I love is some of the way that they play the game, especially because of like Ragnar Blackmane's character, right? The Blackmanes are best known for assault pod, drop behind enemy lines, and then just rip through them. And that is so cool to me because nothing is more effective than catching your enemy off guard, and nothing catches them off guard more than dropping a giant rocket fueled pop-up Russian nesting doll canister of Space Wolves in the middle of their defenses. It's just, and then they're immediately in hand-to-hand combat. They're immediately taken to the enemy, and that is so sick. That is so cool. Now let me talk about why this kind of resonates with me as a person. As some of you may already know, I am a Marine Corps veteran. I was in Intel. I was not in infantry, so I want to put that out there right now. I never went and kicked down doors and did what needed to be done in combat. I was in the rear with the gear, making sure stuff worked. That being said, we still trained. We still were bred almost to feel that we held ourselves to a higher standard. And that's kind of what the Wolves do. The Wolves feel there's no one that matches them in martial prowess. There's no one that matches them in hand-to-hand combat. And they stake their lives on it. Something else that I love about them and the Marines is I remember so many times where my whole platoon or my entire company is outside in the rain, in the mud, doing PT. You know, we're miserable because it's gross, it's disgusting, we're in North Carolina. It was just a garbage moment. But then something snapped and we all started laughing and we all started enjoying the moment because it's like, well, we're here, we're getting paid to do this, might as well make the best of it. And that's kind of how you see the Wolves in these situations where everyone else would be terrified, they'd be losing their mind, they'd be freaking out. The Wolves start laughing because it's like, this is why we're here. This is what we were made for. And so that's another thing is that they kind of revel in moments of hardship. And that's something that I think as a Marine, I really enjoy because there's that camaraderie, there's that brotherhood that you didn't really find anywhere else. The Wolves, they call them packs. They're not squads or fire, they're packs. These are the brothers that live together as a pack and they go everywhere together as a pack. And that's kind of how I felt with my squad and my platoon and my unit. The first Warhammer book I ever read was Battle for the Fang. Now, I was deployed when I read it, and this deployment was pretty strange for me, especially because my son had been born about a month earlier, and then I deployed. And I really obviously wanted to be back with my son and my wife and my daughter, but I couldn't because this is where I was called to be. Now, I don't remember all the aspects of the Battle of the Fang, but I do remember just this feeling of loyalty. These Wolves knew they were going to die, but they had to defend their home. They had to defend the people. They had to put it all on the line. And that's kind of how I felt. You know, if something were to happen, that's why I'm here. I'm deployed because I might have to put it all on the line. And then it talks about how they were laughing with their brothers and they were all together and they were a pack. And if one of them died, they all died. And they all, you know. And that's what we're trained to be. That's how we're trained to be and perceive things, is that we'll give whatever we have to so the brother or sister to our left or right is protected and is covered. And so that struck me internally as a big connection point. And then I started looking up pictures of these just big old hairy Viking dudes with chainsaw swords and all kinds of axes, and they had these massive wolves, and it was cool. You know, I had never even painted a model before, I never had a model, I had no clue. That was years before. About 4 years after I got out of the military, so I got my first box of miniatures. But when I decided to start collecting miniatures for this hobby, I knew for a fact that Space Wolves were the only faction that I was going to go after. And that's before I'd even seen the models. Well, there you have it. Those are the 3 reasons why I love the Space Wolves. Their lore, their role, and those few points of resonance between how they are and what it felt like to be a Marine. If you love the Wolves as much as I do, put it in the comments down below. If you love another chapter, put that in the comments down below. If you want to talk about it, come join the Discord. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas and have a great day.